All right, let's talk about communicating with professors. In an email, unless otherwise specified, you should be using Dear Professor Talbot or Dear Professor whatever their last name is, not Hey or Hey Prof or What's Up or Dude or no salutation at all, even if you're on your phone. It's really not that hard to type in Dear Professor X. You also want to communicate ASAP. The time to tell me that you've been diagnosed with mono or COVID is when you're diagnosed, not after you've dropped off the face of the earth for 3 weeks. Again, the time to tell me you've been diagnosed with COVID or have something else coming up is when that thing comes up, not 3 weeks later after you've disappeared. So you want to communicate with me ASAP. And I do understand privacy, and I do respect that. Most people do, some people are a little weird about it, but most people do. And I'm comfortable not really knowing what the issue is. I'm much less comfortable not knowing that there is an issue. So please communicate with me early, and please communicate with me with some level of professionalism. Things not to say in an email or really in any other form of communication with a professor. Number 1, did I miss anything important or will I miss anything important? No, because you weren't here. We all just sat in silence for an hour and 15 minutes. You didn't miss anything important. Yes, you missed something important. You missed class. Thanks in advance for your understanding. This presumes that I'm going to be understanding, which in most cases I am, but I still resent the presumption, and lots of people do. A better way to frame that might be, I hope we can work together to make this work, something like that. But you don't want to thank me in advance for something I have not offered. It's presumptuous and frankly a little bit rude. Thirdly, is there any way I can get an exception to this policy clearly outlined on the syllabus? This one's mushy, but what you want to do is communicate in such a way that the professor has some level of understanding that something's going on that needs accommodation, rather than just simply sort of asking straightforwardly, can I get an exception to this policy? Just, cause, again, it's mushy. That's way more mushy than did I miss anything important, or thanks in advance for your patience, understanding, whatever. So that one can be a little bit mushy, but watch the way in which you ask for those kinds of things. All right, let's talk about office hours. Office hours are probably the least used resource that you have and the most valuable resource that you have. Office hours are for you. Before COVID, I would sit in my office for 3 hours a week waiting for someone to come and talk to me. And no one ever did. Okay, a couple of people did, but not nearly very many. So office hours are for you. The whole point of office hours is that we are sitting on our Zoom link or sitting in our offices waiting for someone to show up and talk to us. It is best to make an appointment for office hours so we know you're coming, but you don't need to. You can just show up. Some people cancel their office hours, and I hate that, but there's nothing I can really do about that. I rarely do that. When I do, I communicate with you in advance, unless I'm, in the hospital or lost in the wilderness or whatever. So I'm available during office hours for you to come and talk to me. Come and talk to me. You don't even have to have a problem to come and talk to me. When you talk to me, you want to think about the kinds of things you're addressing. Rather than thinking about how do I get an A in this course, you want to think about, because you're not an empty cup and I'm not a vending machine. How do I make the most out of this experience is a much better kind of conversation to have. Again, grades are not the metric of getting the most of this experience. Go to office hours. it's really helpful for me in getting to know you, getting to understand sort of what your struggles are, where you're coming from, what your perspective is, if you come within the first 2 or 3 weeks of class. When we ask students, we've done this with some level of study rigor, when we ask students why they don't come to office hours, one of the things that they consistently say in different ways is that they feel intimidated, they feel like they should be able to do this kinds of things on their own. One of the things that I think is kind of true about that is that the power dynamic that students feel intimidated by is more obvious to students than it is to faculty. Just get over it. Most of us are really nice people. And it is true that some professors are more offish than others, but that's true of every population. Most likely you won't offend even the offish ones by trying to go to office hours. But most of us are pretty nice people, as it turns out. Moreover, we all know that the best education happens in relationship. So just get over it and come to office hours. They're for you. I sit there for 3 hours for you, waiting for you to come and talk to me. So come.